Ever wondered what goes on inside your body every single second? Think of it as a non-stop city where every cell's on the grind. You've got red blood cells sprinting around like overworked delivery guys, white blood cells acting like secret agents who stab first and ask questions never, and germs popping up like uninvited party crashers. With danger lurking at every corner and constant 24/7 chaos, it's wild to think your body's living an action blockbuster while you're just sitting there scrolling. Inside your body, roughly 37.2 trillion cells are working hard every day. A red blood cell casually delivers oxygen, just like every other day, nothing unusual. Suddenly, there is an earthquake, causing the ground to break open, and some germs pop up. The cells are terrified. Fighting monsters was part of their job description.
You're a victim!
The germs declare that they are now permanent residents. Their next move is to eliminate the already existing residents.
It's an evil world we live in.
Just as they are about to attack the RB cell, a white blood cell intervenes.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Their duty is basically to jump anything that is not originally supposed to be in the body, and they do their jobs pretty well, slicing and punching with precision.
Nice.
They are also called neutrophils. In just a few minutes, the germs get cooked. Operation Invade and Takeover failed. The WB cell reports to his division that they have successfully exterminated the freaks. After that, the white blood cells conduct a full sweep of the body. Just in case any germ has escaped, they are determined to smoke them out. RB cell is still traumatized from her encounter with the purple monster, but she is also amazed at how the white blood cells handled the situation. WB feels her eyes boring holes in the back of his head and asks,
Who the fuck is this asshole?
why she is staring. RB cell thanks him for saving her, but he brushes it off, saying he was just doing his job. Meanwhile, one of the germs has escaped and is determined to avenge his brothers. The red blood cell continues her work anyway, no time to heal from trauma. She is carrying out her normal delivery but gets lost a few times, even wandering into the spleen and lymph duct, who is a grumpy security guard on duty. This red blood cell is a newbie. Even with a map and directions from others, she still loses her way again. This time, RB cell finds herself in a lonely hallway in the waist area. As she opens a door, boom! The purple monster that escaped is right there looking at the body map. RB cell freezes and calmly closes the door, pretending she didn't see anything. The germ breaks out with an
Why are you running?
RB cell starts to run for her life and the germ pursues her. She trips, but Lady Luck is on her side and WB cell comes to the rescue. The germ has a getaway strategy and traps both WB cell and RB cell. When the dust settles, there is no sight of the germ. WB is immediately on the move. He knows that the bacterium is a pneumococcus, a bacterium of the respiratory system, and if he doesn't end him soon, he will start multiplying and trigger other diseases. As he drags RB along with him, she informs him she is heading to the lungs. WB cell tells her they are in the kidney and she responds that she got lost. WB cell doesn't care about untangling himself, and finding the germ comes first. It's an emergency. While on the way, he explains how bad the situation can get, especially as the immune system is already compromised. She probably doesn't understand what he is saying after all. She's just a delivery girl. Finally, WB cell stops and they untangle themselves. He then requests backup. The other white blood cell says they are busy too and that he should handle it on his own. Just then, the white blood cell's receptor starts responding. This means the bacterium is close, but where? The red blood cell thinks the receptor design is tacky. WB cell then asks if she has any clue where the germ is headed, and she remembers that the germ was looking at the map to find the lungs. She informs the white blood cell. Determined to do their jobs, the red blood cell and the white blood cell take off each in different directions. They both stop when they realize the other is not with them. The red blood cell shamefully reappears, and the white blood cell points out the right way to the lungs, telling her to follow him since they are heading in the same direction. They pass through the dendritic cells and come across the platelets, who are basically cute construction workers. Unfortunately, the road is closed due to construction delays, as they can't reach and offload the goods that were delivered. Even their ladder is too small. RB cell and WB cell decide to help the platelets offload their goods and continue their journey. The white blood cell notices that his receptor is acting up, something is not right, and RB cell thinks it's broken. Just then, there is a broadcast by the helper T cell that a pneumococcus is on the run and they are mobilizing the killer T cells to get the job done. The killer T cells have arrived. These aren't your average fighters. If they had ranks, they would be S-rank fighters. They are related to white blood cells and are also called lymphocytes. WB cell and RB cell want to walk away, but a lymphocyte calls them back and instills fear in RB cell by telling her that the germ is after nutrients. Since red blood cells transport these nutrients, they are the main targets. RB cell is shaking in her boots, but WB cell advises her not to pay any attention to them, claiming they are just trying to scare her. Killer T cells? More like bully cells. They finally arrive at the lungs and everything seems calm. RB cell assumes they were faster than the germ and made it there before it could find its way. WB cell and RB cell say their goodbyes, with RB cell thanking him with every step she takes away from him. WB cell is uncertain about what to do next, as his receptor, which would help him locate the germ, is acting up. Just then, he realizes that the receptor is functioning again, making him realize that something is sus. Meanwhile, the lymphocytes are busy aura farming while pretending to work, and the WB cells are running around frantically trying to find one germ. Bro got everybody so worked up. RB cell arrives at the lungs and heads to the left lung, where she is supposed to pass through the capillaries to reach an alveolus. She sees a lot of capillaries and is unsure which door to enter. At that moment, RB cell's senior colleague, AARB cell, calls out to her. RB cell is relieved to see her and begs for help. AARB cell assists her in navigating the map. After wishing her luck, AARB cell leaves and RB cell continues on her path. RB cell soon reaches the right capillary, and when she enters, her package suddenly starts moving funny and its seal is torn as the germ steps out, thanking her for transporting him. Despite looking like a failed project, RB cell is scared and tries to escape, but the germ stops her, calling her foolish for not realizing what she was transporting. The alveolus, where they currently are, is the perfect location for him to steal nutrients. RB cell hears other red blood cells approaching and warns them that the room is occupied, trying to protect them. The germ is obviously mad about this. She just made him miss lunch. He decides to end her, thinking no one would come to her rescue. But he is wrong. Just as he is about to end her, WB cell bursts in from the air vent. Since white blood cells are transmigrating cells, they can easily slip through blood vessel walls to smoke out their enemy. The germ questions how the WB cell knew his location, to which WB cell replies that he figured it out. After RB cell left, his receptors stopped responding. Realizing he has come too far to be eliminated, the germ decides to dip because he knows he doesn't stand a chance. RB cell quickly informs WB cell about the germ's plan to steal nutrients, and WB cell immediately knows where to go. As the germ attempts to attack some red blood cells, the WB stops him by sending knives through his body. The capsule is transported through the body and launched like a missile. Everyone watches as it explodes, resulting in a sneeze from the human. Before the white blood cell leaves, RB cell asks if she will see him again. He replies that he won't, since there are so many white blood cells and even more red blood cells. However, he assures her that they will run into each other someday, as they both exist in the same body. While they are still talking, a notification alerts all WB cell of a bacterium, and WB cell and his mates attack it immediately. It's just another normal day in the human body.
Oh shit, here we go again.
And RB cell, the female Zoro, is trying to find her way to deliver some nutrients. AARB cell sees her looking lost and calls out to her. When the older red blood cell checks her map, she discovers they are heading in the same direction. Just then, they hear the sound of whistles. It's the platelets on duty. Their job is to cover up wounds. They come across a stairway, and with the help of their leader, they take it one step at a time while RB cell worries about their safety. Eventually, they reach the button, and RB cell feels relieved. The platelet drops one of the coagulation factors she is carrying, and RB cell helps her pick it up. They begin their work, and RB cell and the older red blood cell continue on their way. RB cell comments on how peaceful the environment is, but her colleague reminds her to stay alert, since the part of the blood vessels they are on is really close to the skin. While she is speaking, there is a sudden shaking. RB cell asks her colleague about it, and she reassures her that it's just an external stimulus and probably isn't serious. However, it turns out to be serious as an explosion occurs, leaving a large hole.
Why the fuck you lying?
Suddenly, the red blood cells are being sucked into the hole created by the explosion. RB cell is pulled in as well. WB cell catches her just before she falls through. They find a safe spot near the opening to hide, and RB cell asks what is happening. WB cell manages to catch one more red blood cell before explaining that the human has injured the body from the outside, damaging the outer wall of a blood vessel. Because of that, blood leaks out and the blood cells get carried away. It's like when you fall and scrape your skin. That's called an abrasion. It's just a small wound that happens when the skin gets scraped. He adds that if they fall from the wound, it will be their end. RB cell starts to panic, but he reassures her that the wound will be taken care of. They just need to deal with the small problem first. As if on cue, germs start flooding in. This time, there are a variety of them. All these bacteria for one little scrape? Man must have fallen on the floor of a public restroom. Staphylococcus aureus, their leader, lives on the skin and chills in the pores. But don't let it fool you, it's super toxic. If it sneaks into the body through a scrape or cut, it can cause skin infections and even make you sick in other ways. As the germs attack, WB cell tells the red blood cells to run while he stays back to fight. A barrier is set up near the scrape. This is called vasoconstriction. It happens when a blood vessel gets injured, and it's the body's way of squeezing the vessel to slow down the bleeding and stop too much blood from getting out. RB cell announces the terrible news to the others about the invasion of bacteria, urging them to flee. As they try to escape, more bacteria break in. The red blood cells cannot escape because of the venous valve, which has been put in place to prevent blood from backing up. It keeps the blood moving forward only, like traffic with no U-turns allowed. One germ picks up a red blood cell, but before it can attack her, white blood cells show up and swiftly eliminate the germ. They look bloodthirsty and ask where the abrasion is. RB cell points in the direction and they race there. The red blood cells feel relieved. Meanwhile, WB cell is fighting off the germs alone and doing a good job stabbing and slicing. After defeating them, he receives a command to back up another white blood cell nearby. As he runs there, he wonders what the germs are planning now that they have sneaked into the body. WB cell assists the other white blood cell in defeating a germ. Staff, who is watching, warns them that more germs are on their way, and with that, even more germs arrive. What? Did bro disinfect the scrape with sewer water? Other white blood cells arrive as backup. The DAF suddenly starts pulling them in and one white blood cell accidentally slips through. WB cell shouts at him to keep his L section on. That's a special sticky protein that helps white blood cells latch onto blood vessel walls and stay in place. Staff mocks them for always protecting other cells, but now that they need help, none of the others have come to their rescue. She has done her research on all of them and knows she will have the upper hand as soon as all the white blood cells are eliminated. She attacks them with her tail. They defend themselves, but not for long. They are overpowered and their weapons are knocked away. Standing at the edge of the cliff, WB cell tries to calm down. As Staff attempts to land her death blow, he blocks it, surprising her. WB cell realizes their strategy is flawed. He tells her it is lame, saying that she should be careful of the small blood cells, not the big ones, because their helpers are the platelets who have just arrived. Staff is confused, and the platelet leader gives them instructions on where to begin work, telling them to use their GB1B so they don't get blasted away. She confirms that they all have their coagulation factor. That's the stuff the body uses to clot the blood and stop bleeding. With that, they all march forward to begin their work while the white blood cells protect them from any attacks. After dropping down, they use fibrin, a protein involved in blood clotting, and together with the coagulation factor, they seal the wound. The white blood cells feel relieved, and Staff realizes it's over for the germs as they can't summon more germs. The white blood cells then eliminate the remaining germs and WB cell flies towards Staff, ultimately defeating her, and he falls back onto the fibrin. He sees the other white blood cell that fell earlier and he has survived, hanging onto a pipe. After everything settles, RB cell comes looking for WB cell. A platelet shows her where he is and she goes down to meet him. She is grateful that he is still alive and he says it's just a scratch. He asks about the others and she reassures him that they are okay. She then thanks him for saving them, but he responds that they are just doing their jobs. RB cell then points out that since she arrived, she hasn't seen WB cell move and she realizes that she is stuck too. She sees other red blood cells being led away by the little platelets. WB then explains that whenever a hole opens up in a blood vessel until the outer wall cells are restored, the bodies of blood cells like them are used to plug that hole. This process is called secondary hemostasis. WB cell and RB cell are stuck with the others and they will remain that way for another 3 days. It's another day in the human body. A rookie T-cell, also known as a naive T-cell, is making rounds in a creepy alleyway. He is scared and keeps frightening himself by accidentally hitting a trash can. The noise attracts some infected cells, and he starts running, but the cells are everywhere he turns. As naive T-cell calls for help, WB cell suddenly slips out from the wall, even leaving a shoe behind. He quickly attacks the infected cells and saves naive T-cell, who is on the verge of tears. As WB cell puts on his shoes, he asks the naive T-cell what he is doing in that dark alley. Naive T-cell introduces himself and explains he is on patrol. WB cell tells him that the infected cells are just regular cells that have been overtaken by a virus, the influenza virus, which triggers an infectious disease. The virus binds to the bodies of healthy cells and multiplies. WB cell emphasizes that their only hope is to eliminate the infected cells before they can multiply any further. He instructs naive T-cell to back him up, but bro is a wimp and says he can't do it. As the virus starts attacking WB cell, he asks naive T-cell to give him a hand, but naive T-cell insists it's too terrifying. Fortunately, macrophage shows up. She's like a superhero white blood cell. She hunts down and destroys any foreign substance in the body, finds important info for the immune system, and even cleans up the mess by eating dead cells and germs. She is a janitor and a warrior at the same time. The viruses attack her, but with one swing, she takes them down effortlessly. Her strength is impressive. When she touches the virus, she identifies it is a B-type and reports her findings to the dendritic cell, which then informs the helper T-cell. Upon returning to the base, the helper T-cell announces the information, telling the killer T-cells to start gathering immediately. Macrophage tells WB cell that she has notified each organ through the dendritic cell, so the killer T-cells will soon be there to assist them. Hearing that the killer T-cells are on their way, naive T-cell apologizes, asking WB cell to tell them that he at least took down one infected cell. WB cell is confused and asks why he would want them to do that. Naive T-cell tries to explain but is cut off as the killer T-cells arrive. Ready for battle, they thank macrophage for her efforts. Then when they see naive T-cell trying to crawl away, they begin scolding him for being such a coward. More white blood cells arrive as backup. Meanwhile, there is a whole horde of the viruses approaching, and killer T-cell tells naive T-cell to at least eliminate one virus, dragging him along. The fight begins, and memory T-cell, part of the killer T-cell squad, is loaded with skills to attack again if the enemy shows up a second time. He starts sharing info with the others about the influenza virus so they know what they're dealing with. The fight continues with the real cells having the upper hand. A killer T-cell urges naive T-cell to participate, and WB cell encourages him to do his best. But naive T-cell is still too scared. Suddenly, a virus attacks him, and just in time, a killer T-cell rescues him but then scolds him afterward. Naive T-cell becomes emotional and runs away. Meanwhile, RB cell and the older RB cell are going about their regular delivery when they see other cells running in panic. When she asks, one of them explains that there is a report about a viral infection. Naive T-cell continues to cry as he makes his way back to the dendritic cell. He stumbles, falls on his face, and lays there sobbing. The dendritic cell approaches to ask him what's wrong. The dendritic cell has one main job: showing off the invaders. It grabs pieces of bacteria and infected cells called antigens and presents them like wanted posters to alert the rest of the immune system. Plus, it's got these little arms, protrusions, that help it grab and show things better. The dendritic cell questions whether the other cells are struggling in battle and says he will make a call. Naive T-cell cries out that it's not about that. He ran away from the fight. He expresses his fear, stating he cannot fight them and feels terrified, comparing himself to the powerful white blood cell macrophage and his older colleagues. The dendritic cell comforts him, then gives him Memory's book where his older colleague were also weak just like him. Dendritic cells adds that the others might be treating him that way because they see themselves in him. The dendritic cell reassures him not to be afraid, saying that everyone is supporting him. With that encouragement, naive T-cell is activated. Fun fact: one of the dendritic cell's abilities is to activate naive T-cells. Meanwhile, the cells have successfully defeated many viruses, but the viruses latch themselves onto other nearby cells, turning them into viruses as well. This process is called proliferation. Basically, it's when the influenza virus starts multiplying like crazy. In just 8 hours, it goes from 1 to hundreds, and after one day, They're the whole army, like over 1 million of them inside the body. RB cells and AARB cells are still on their delivery route, but the body temperature is rising, creating a hot environment. Up ahead, they see a blockade of influenza viruses and decide to turn back. Meanwhile, the fighter cells are cornered and exhausted, but the viruses are more energetic than ever. Just then, a fist knocks out an extroverted virus, shocking everyone. It's the naive T-cell, and bro is now jacked. He apologizes for his earlier behavior and explains that he has overcome self-pity and been activated. He is also multiplied. B-cell arrives as well with antibodies, and together they head into battle, giving the viruses a run for their money. Through the other cells' collective efforts, they launch a missile and the human sneezes. They also reduce the appetite level, allowing energy that would normally be used for digestion to be redirected towards healing the body. Hey DL, everything else is normal, and sweat is released to cool the skin. Thanks to teamwork, a week later the viruses are all eliminated. The older killer T-cell commends naive T-cell for a job well done. The T-cells give themselves all the credit and rejoice louder than everyone else. Just then a lanky virus appears. The naive T-cell boasts that he will defeat the virus in one punch, but as he approaches, the virus casually knocks him away, sending him flying. The antibodies prove ineffective as well. The WB cell realizes it's an A-type influenza virus. These types of virus feature numerous internal mutations and are prone to triggering epidemics on a global scale. He doesn't waste time multiplying, leaving everyone speechless. The macrophage immediately informs the dendritic cell about the virus. Meanwhile, our Jimbro has reverted to his wimpy self. B-cell mentions he is going to get new antibodies, but he is low-key ditching them. The viruses attack, and the dendritic cell receives a call requesting reinforcements. It's another day inside the human body. WB cell and RB cell are watching gastric juice dissolve a lump of nutrients. RB cell finds this interesting. They are in the stomach, which acts as a food storage tank. It holds the food that has been swallowed, then sprays it with gastric acid to kill germs. It also uses a special enzyme called pepsin to break the food down into mushy goo. They are having a nice time when suddenly WB's receptor reacts and he has to leave, telling RB cell that they will continue their discussion later. WB cell sees eosinophil protecting some red blood cells from a bacterium. However, the bacterium is whooping her butt and is also traumatizing her with harsh words. As the germ prepares for its final attack, WB swoops in and defeats it. RB cell tries to assist eosinophil stand up, but she refuses the help and thanks WB cell for his help. Eosinophil is a type of white blood cell that make up only a small percentage of all white blood cells. But when there's an allergy or a parasite trying to mess things up, it multiplies fast. Even though they're not very strong, they can still fight by eating up bad stuff just like other white blood cells. As WB cell greets eosinophil, RB cell questions whether they know each other. WB cell explains that they both grew up inside the same bone marrow. While they talk, they overhear some cells mock eosinophil, calling her weak for not being able to defeat a germ despite having a giant weapon. Eosinophil feels hurt by this, and WB reassures her that eliminating bacteria is not the only job of a white blood cell. Still, eosinophil believes the other cells are just speaking the truth, and it doesn't bother her. Suddenly, a quake shakes the stomach, and WB cell goes to investigate. They overhear some cells mention that it's a bacterium. This human is going through a lot at this point. Mast cell, known as a fat cell, though they have nothing to do with fat, is in charge of releasing powerful chemicals like histamines and leukotrienes when the body produces too much immunoglobulin. This usually means the body is overreacting to something, like during allergies. Mast cells are basically the ones who sound the alarm and trigger the reaction. The mast cell releases histamine, which is a chemical substance that is released when the mast cell recognizes foreign substances or injury. Basophil, another type of white blood cell, neutrophil and eosinophil meet basophil. This guy comprises less than 1% of all white blood cells. When he encounters a specific pathogen, it releases histamines and other chemicals which trigger an allergic reaction. It creates a substance that will attract neutrophils and eosinophils to the affected area. Basophil informs them about the situation, and eosinophil explains that they have been invaded by too many bacteria for the gastric juice to handle. They rush towards the scene while an announcement is made to alert other cells about the bacterial invasion. Suddenly, the monster breaks through the stomach wall. It's Enteritis vibrio, a sneaky bacterium that usually lives in seawater. If you eat seafood that's got this guy in it, you can get food poisoning, the kind that brings serious stomach pain and other nasty stuff. All the admin cells are hard at work notifying other cells about the bacteria. Helper T cell informs everyone about the bacteria that have just invaded the body and tell them to evacuate the area immediately. Enteritis commands its underlings to go berserk. One helper T cell notices that there is a lot of damage to the stomach wall and senses that something isn't right. Neutrophil and eosinophil arrive on the scene and begin fighting, expecting backup soon. WB cell takes out many of the bacteria, while eosinophil struggles against one, and the bacteria don't even see her as a threat. As a red blood cell is about to be eaten, eosinophil rushes to its rescue, ignoring neutrophil's warning. However, she is not to side with the red blood cell. As the bacteria attempt to attack them, WB cell intervenes, taking the hit and is in pain. In response, eosinophil charges headfirst at the bacteria, and WB cell calls out for her to back off, saying that she stands no chance against it. WB cell then distracts the bacteria, allowing it to swallow him. Basophil arrives with his NPC side quest energy, talking in riddles like he's about to drop a mixtape nobody asked for. Eosinophil is genuinely worried for neutrophil, but suddenly he bursts out of the bacteria, ending it and leaving everyone stunned. WB cell, trying to catch his breath, asks if everything else is okay. Eosinophil replies that basophil called for backup. Another white blood cell checks to see if WB cell is alright, while the others chase after the remaining bacteria. RB cell arrives and is surprised by the state of WB cell, but another white blood cell helps clean him up. Eosinophil apologizes to him for making him go through all that alone, as she is also a white blood cell. WB cell apologizes to her as well for telling her she didn't have a chance, but she reassures him that it's okay because she already knows she is weak. She then thanks the WB cell for protecting her. An announcement is made that the bacteria have been defeated and cells should continue their duties. Everyone feels relieved and gets back to work. Meanwhile, a helper T cell sees something on the radar and asks to confirm if the attack is really over. It's confirmed, but he knows that the damage to the stomach wall is too big to be just food poisoning bacteria. Suddenly, an earthquake shakes the area, and the WB cell and RB cell rush to find out what is wrong. An alarm is sounded to alert all the cells, and the white blood cells and RB cell arrive to see that gastric acid is leaking. Everyone scrambles to respond, and neutrophil realizes that this time, it's not a pathogen, it's a parasitic anisakis. This shark-looking guy is a parasite that lives in sea creatures. It can hype up the immune system big time. If someone eats raw seafood that has anisakis, it can, in rare cases, sneak into the stomach or intestines, causing food poisoning, with stomach pain and even vomiting. Basophil just stands in the stomach like a low battery notification, reciting his usual quirky lines while the others are terrified. The vomiting center is triggered, and the human feels nauseous and vomits. Meanwhile, the parasite is tearing through the stomach wall. That must feel really painful. The cells realize that trying to defeat the parasite seems almost impossible, as just the wind from its mouth blows WB cell away. The white blood cells are hesitant to start fighting, and there is chaos everywhere. Just then, eosinophil volunteers to take it down. The other cells try to talk her out of it, even apologizing for calling her weak and talking trash about her. But eosinophil tells them it's her job. RB cell begs WB cell to stop eosinophil, but instead he holds RB cell back from stopping eosinophil, saying that she is not going off to die. He knows no other cell can take on the monster except her. Eosinophil leaps into the air to attack the parasite from above. Even though her role as a white blood cell typically involves exterminating bacteria, her real job is to unalive parasites, and that's what she is good at. She plunges her trident into the parasite, defeating it. Once the battle is over, she turns around to find all the cells cheering for her and thanking her for defeating the enemy. Eosinophil blushes, enjoying the attention as the other white blood cells begin the cleanup. It is another day in the human body when suddenly a massive object crashes down like a meteor. Everyone watches curiously and braces themselves for the impact. Helper T cell recognizes it as cedar pollen. As soon as it lands, the impact sends shockwaves throughout the body. The protective cover breaks off, revealing a harmless-looking cedar pollen allergen. Although this allergen has no combat skills, once the immune system notices it, it can trigger an allergic reaction. The helper T cells receive a report from macrophages near the eye membrane about the allergy. They also notice that multiple pollen grains have hit the water point, meaning that the human was not able to blink in time. The T cells know that the pollen will invade the body through the eye, so they alert the nearby cells about the invasion, advising them to be cautious. Meanwhile, RB Cell's delivery is in that area. While checking her map to finish up quickly, the pollen sneaks up behind her and suddenly grows huge as soon as she notices it, causing her to panic. Just when it looks bad for RB Cell, WB Cell charges in like a hero, swiftly eliminating the pollen almost as if he was stalking. After confirming that RB Cell is okay, WB Cell bites into the pollen just to know what it is. RB Cell looks disgusted. He then explains to RB Cell what it is, but adds that they still need to eliminate it even though it is not harmful, which makes them feel a bit bad for the pollen. Just then, Memory Cell arrives. He immediately recognizes the pollen and starts to freak out. This guy's job is basically to remember bad guys the body has encountered and to be one step ahead in case of a second invasion. WB Cell questions why he reacted that way, noting that the pollen is not dangerous. Memory Cell informs them about a legend that has been passed down. He suddenly runs off to get his notebook, which is more of a memory cell than him, because when he returns, he keeps peeking at the book to be able to answer their questions. In a dramatic manner, he informs them about an impending eruption, disaster, and a great flood that will occur at the same time. This seems unbelievable to WB Cell until an announcement comes through about the pollen multiplying like crazy. Everyone begins to panic and Memory Cell tells them that it is the beginning of the end of the world. The T-cells receive tons of calls about the damage being made, but Helper T-cell remains calm. He is confident in their secret weapon, the B-cell. He orders that B-cell be placed on the front lines. WB Cell instructs RB Cell to leave the area. As he faces the pollen, he begins wondering if Memory Cell might actually be onto something. Just then, B Cell arrives, feeling proud of his spray gun and telling the white blood cell to leave it to him. WB Cell asks Memory Cell if the disaster can be prevented before it happens, but Memory Cell is too focused on reading the prophecy in his book, which B Cell is about to bring to life. B Cell starts spraying the IgE antibodies on the pollen and it works. The pollen is neutralized and the other cells cheer for him. WB Cell doubts Memory Cell's prophecy since B Cell's mist has just solved the problem. However, Memory Cell informs him that the real issue is about to begin. As if on cue, Mast Cell notices the excessive amount of antibodies being used as B Cell is spraying like a maniac. Following the guidance from her manual, she releases histamine. WB Cell catches on that the excessive use of antibodies is not a good idea and warns B Cell to stop. B Cell insists it's fine because histamine will help as well. The nozzle retracts and a bigger one appears, spraying heavily and causing a flood, just as the legend foretold. Even after the flood, more pollen reappears and Mast Cell releases even more histamine. Memory Cell, while hanging on for dear life, tells the white blood cell that this is just the tip of the iceberg and that there is more to come. Everyone is trying to survive while Mast Cell is chilling and continues pouring out histamine. This chaos persists, even damaging something that triggers the immune response. The nasal membrane gets stimulated, resulting in sneezing, and begins to swell. Tears start flowing as well, all due to histamine. The entire area is a mess, but these symptoms are simply signs of an allergy. The cells start blaming B Cell, who doubles it and gives it to the next person, Mast Cell, for releasing histamine. The cells then burst into her office and drag her out. B Cell and Mast Cell continue to push the blame onto each other and eventually start throwing hands. WB Cell doesn't blame anyone. He knows that they were only doing their jobs and no one knew it would turn out this way. At that moment, Red Blood Cell delivers a massive bomb-like capsule knocking over WB Cell and Memory Cell. The human has finally decided to take some medication, as the capsule breaks open revealing a powerful robot guy, the Steroid. This guy suppresses symptoms caused by histamines as well as allergic reactions. He is the perfect guy for the job, but his methods are ruthless, and like a mechanical Terminator, he starts blasting every cell involved, friend or foe, causing the cells to run for their lives. The steroids succeed in calming the chaos, but at a heavy cost. The inner world is left scarred. The cells will not forget this in a hurry. RB Cell gets lost during duty and wanders into the red bone marrow, the blood cell's homeland. She wanders a bit more and comes across a valedictory occasion. An erythroblast graduates into a full-fledged red blood cell by losing its core, and this brings back memories. She recalls right from the day she was created by the hemopoietic stem cells, which produce and sort the cells according to category. The red blood cells start off as precursor cells and then mature into erythroblasts and are nurtured by macrophages in the red bone marrow. RB Cell has always had direction issues, unlike her fellows. Considering how complicated the pathways are, this is a serious challenge. While other erythroblasts scale through the exercise, RB Cell keeps getting confused on which direction to go. She gets lightheaded from too many movements and falls to the ground. The others mock her, but Macrophage consoles her, assuring that she'll get good eventually. They move to the next exercise, which is on how to escape bacteria. Considering the environment they're in, which has a danger level comparable to the Attack on Titan universe, it is essential they practice how to escape danger, and a white blood cell is there to help with this. They're to run and hide away from the white blood cell, who will be playing the role of a bacterium. RB Cell gets taunted as her fellows believe she'll get lost. This leads her to ask what happens if she gets lost. Macrophage assures her that she won't be able to leave the red bone marrow since she's still young. As long as she's in the red bone marrow, it'll be easy to find her. The exercise kicks off and the white blood cell gets into act. They are terrified and scramble in different directions, while the white blood cell chases closely behind. This is quite a traumatizing experience. Before Macrophage takes notice of RB Cell, she's already absent. She runs like her life depends on it, with her eyes shut, and as expected, she gets lost. Realizing she's lost, she cries as she feels she'll never be good enough to become a true red blood cell. Her sobbing stops when she overhears chattering. When she takes a peek in that direction, she sees actual red blood cells going about their duties. She's awed as they're really cool to her, and she wonders if she'll turn out like that someday. Just then, a bacterium pops up by her, and initially, she thinks it's the white blood cell still in disguise. But things get more real and creepier. This is really convenient for the bacterium, finding an erythroblast all alone. It is a Pseudomonas, a really common and persistent type of bacteria, and it makes her know this in a crazily terrifying way. RB Cell is scarred half to death, running with every bit of strength, and the bacterium chases. Eventually, it catches up with RB Cell. It isn't after oxygen or anything serious. This thing just loves torturing helpless blood cells. It's all for the love of the game. It can divide and proliferate without nutrients, and its objective is to destroy blood cells and cell systems. The beatdown begins as it starts mercilessly smacking RB Cell. After the bullying is to its satisfaction, the bacterium decides to finish her off. The bacterium says it feels sorry her life will end without her becoming a true red blood cell.
Emotional damage.
RB Cell is sad, but that sadness quickly changes to resolve as she doesn't want to go yet. She throws her cap at it, and it hurts it enough to buy her little time. She escapes, having in mind that there's still a chance that she'll turn out like the cool RB Cells she saw earlier. The bacterium is pissed and charges at her, catching up in little time. It means business this time, but as it is about to finish her off for real this time, a myelocyte, a young white blood cell, intervenes. He's brave and stands up to the bacterium, but this is pointless as he isn't able to do anything against it. It goes into bully mode, taunting the myelocyte, and even adds a rigorous ass whooping session. It admires the myelocyte's courage and offers to let him go if he hands over RB Cell. The myelocyte declines this. He's standing on business and points out that as a white blood cell, he is supposed to give up even his life to protect other cells. This doesn't drag out much longer as the white blood cell and macrophage intervene. The bacterium is taken down easy peasy. Clear of danger, RB Cell begins crying. Which kid wouldn't? Macrophage and RB Cell part ways with the white blood cell and the myelocyte. But just before they leave, RB Cell thanks the myelocyte for saving her life. She wonders if they'll ever see each other again. And although the myelocyte doesn't know for sure, he states that they'll both grow to work in the blood vessel. They probably will cross paths again. That being said, he bids her goodbye. RB Cell's trip down memory lane ends. She admits she had been so busy, she forgot about the incident. With her mind back in the present, she is ready to stand on business, but crashes into WB Cell, who just happened to be there. She doesn't realize it's him immediately, and then she eventually does after apologizing profusely. After finding out that she's lost, WB Cell offers to help her out since he isn't busy at the moment. Just then, RB Cell considers the possibility of WB Cell being the myelocyte who saved her back then for a brief moment, but discards the thought as she feels it's too much of a coincidence. WB Cell successfully helps RB Cell out, and she's thankful. With this, they part ways. WB Cell doesn't have a moment to breathe as just then, there's commotion. An infected cell rampages, chasing an ordinary cell. WB Cell quickly eliminates it. As he wonders what it is, T-Cell butts into the scene. Together they examine the cell's corpse, and T-Cell speculates that the cell was probably infected by a virus.
Seriously? Yeah.
Oh wow, genius observation, what gave it away? WB Cell points out how difficult it must be to witness incidents that involve their comrades. T-Cell says he'll take the body into custody as it is what his kind is cut out for, issues involving cells. He adds that white blood cells are for unaliving bacteria, but WB Cell mentions that they do take care of cell-related issues as well. Meanwhile, the ordinary cell who was chased earlier tries to get their attention, but they aren't attentive. T-Cell is about to leave with the corpse when NK Cell, who has been watching them for a while, crashes down onto him. NK cells patrol the body and attack any viruses or cancer cells on sight. She's unapologetic about landing on T-Cell and goes straight ahead to analyze the corpse. NK Cell states that the virus is one that multiplies quickly, and she suspects there are others. She feels the ordinary cell that was being chased earlier would know something about that. The ordinary cell mentions that there are some in his area, which is why he has been trying to get WB Cell and T-Cell's attention to inform them. NK Cell wants to take on the task alone, saying she doesn't want to be slowed down by them. But T-Cell's really fired up and isn't about to allow that. He tries to stop her, but she hits him and plays it off as a mistake. You see, this means war, as T-Cell retaliates by dumping a bucket of water over NK Cell. They're at each other's throats. While the hassle goes on, WB Cell tells the ordinary cell that he doesn't have to come all the way with them. The target to be eliminated could be the ordinary cell's neighbors or friends. It's a hard, terrible thing to witness. The ordinary cell is fine with that, as it's for the greater good of their world. Besides, WB Cell had just saved his life, and he mentions that no one has ever done that for him. He understands what needs to be done. They finally make it to the apartment where the viruses are, but the place seems quiet and there are no signs of any viruses. WB Cell suggests they report the issue and return later for a proper patrol together, but the thought of that gets on T-Cell's nerves. He and NK Cell are so against working together, and they split up to continue down the apartment, regardless of WB Cell's advice against that. NK Cell stops in her tracks, as she has been waiting for the moment when she gets separated from the others. She's onto the ordinary cell, who seems completely clueless about what is going on. She tells him to reveal what he truly is, or get unalived pretending to be someone else. It takes a moment before the ordinary cell drops the innocent act, and in a shocking twist, admits that he's busted. RB Cell experiences a lot of weird stuff, which is considered a bad omen. Far from the belief that these experiences bring bad luck, RB Cell genuinely feels there's something wrong. Back at the apartment, NK Cell and the ordinary cell are still in confrontation. From NK Cell's observation, she figures the cell disguised as an ordinary cell to be able to lure them. It is able to do so, as it is more developed than the others. Finally, it reveals its true form, a cancer cell. Cancer cells grow and spread quickly when there is an abnormality in the cell's genes. Cancer Cell mentions that the NK Cell believes she allowed the others to escape from enemy territory. He prefers they be in one location to save him the stress. However, NK Cell said she didn't let them get away. They were only in her way. She believes Cancer Cell has something up his sleeve, as he could have wreaked havoc literally anywhere, but chose the apartment. She's curious about what it is, but Cancer Cell bluntly refuses to tell her and even begins to attack. NK Cell easily counters the attack. She isn't impressed. Cancer Cell intensifies its attack, and after the hit lands, NK Cell admits it isn't so bad. Their battle is underway. WB Cell and T-Cell continue down their own path. WB Cell calls out the fact that something doesn't feel right and suggests they head back to join NK Cell and the ordinary cell, unaware that it is a cancer cell. T-Cell discards the idea and continues his walk ahead. As WB Cell stops to contact NK Cell, he notices a piece of paper on the floor. At the same time, when he picks up the paper, T-Cell opens a door and is stunned by what he sees. They piece together the facts and, in a shocking discovery, realize that the cells are cancer cells. This discovery follows up with an all-out attack from a horde of cancer cells. They manage to take down the wave together, but soon realize there's a whole lot of them as they step back into the hallway. This doesn't look good, and WB Cell worries about NK Cell and the supposedly ordinary cell. They can hardly fend off their attackers, who resemble a badly made pie that is mutated, and T-Cell emphasizes that WB Cell worries about himself at the moment. Just then, NK Cell comes crashing.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Her arrival starts up her quarrel with T-Cell, and they're at it until WB Cell intervenes and asks about the ordinary cell. NK reveals the truth just before the cancer cell comes crashing in with an attack. This is really surprising for WB Cell, and he starts piecing up the event Cancer Cell had been disguising right from the start. Cancer Cell is pleased they're all in one place. I mean, who'd love to give his villain monologue multiple times? It's best if everyone heard it at once. NK had earlier asked what Cancer's reason for doing what he's doing is, and Cancer Cell now replies this, saying it's to show them how it feels to be ganged up on and massacred by them, the immune cells. Cancer Cell sticks its hand into the wall, and a whole part of the building complex bursts out with Cancer Cells pouring. It has already taken over the building. Lying amidst the rubble, NK Cell reveals that this is the reason she wanted to take on the mission alone, as WB Cell and T Cell don't stand a chance against the enemy, and will only get hurt. Cancer Cell is loving this, standing atop everything else and bursting into his villainous laugh. Meanwhile, RB Cell is still on her task together with the older red blood cell when they come across some platelets. They play around with the platelets, and this honestly seems therapeutic given the fact that they've been working all day. RB Cell recalls the bad vibes she had earlier and thinks to herself that it was probably just her imagination. At that moment, another red blood cell loaded with nutrients bumps into the older red blood cell. After apologizing, he continues on his way to his destination. The older white blood cell then points out to RB Cell, noting the significant amount of nutrients the red blood cell was carrying. RB Cell suggests they go help him out, and the older red blood cell agrees. They try to catch up with him only to find that there are others transporting really large loads of nutrients to the same destination. RB Cell and the older red blood cell catch up with the man and ask him about what's going on. He mentions that they all thought it was weird, but orders kept coming from an apartment. They're unaware that it's infested with things that look like they'd make a lovely meal from the Addams family. RB Cell and the two head over to check out the apartment. Taking a peek, they wonder just how many people live there considering the nutrients consumed. Just then, they see Cancer Cells seriously consuming some nutrients. Cancer Cells send out signals that pull in lots of nutrient-rich blood for the nutrients. This makes them grow and spread quickly. When this keeps going on, the body's normal balance gets messed up. They freak out and bolt. Although this all seems sketchy and they know it's bad, they have no choice but to continue with the deliveries. However, RB Cell doesn't feel okay with this. The fight against Cancer Cell continues, but the odds aren't positive. Cancer Cell outclasses them, blocking away their attacks and taking them down. The fact that T Cell refers to it as a bug brings back memories. Cancer Cell remembers when it was young, escaping from being eliminated with its fellow. The immune cells refer to them as bugs, chasing after them. Due to copying errors during cell division, about several thousand cancer cells are produced daily. The cell responsible for the mistake gets seriously scolded for this. The cancer cells, however, didn't quite understand what they did to deserve being hunted down this way. But the existence of anomalies can't be allowed for the sake of the body, the world they live in. As they try to escape, Cancer Cell's fellow trips and falls, causing it to get caught. Cancer Cell does nothing but hide and panic as its mate gets taken away. Being labeled a bug irritates him and he crashes out on T Cell. He's enraged as he says he has done nothing wrong, all he did was come into the world. He wants to eliminate them three instead, and he backs his claim with an attack that knocks them all out. Whilst on her way to deliver the nutrients, RB Cell comes across Macrophage, who asks her what she's up to. RB Cell explains the situation and spills the beans that something weird is going on at the apartment. Cancer Cell reveals the cancer cells, are going to spread through the body, multiplying and unaliving every normal cell. WB finds it absurd and mentions that the system cannot be run or sustained by lunatic cells, it'll collapse. Cancer Cell is fine with whatever outcome, as it says it's going to get unalived either way. WB Cell says he won't let Cancer Cell get away with this, but he's barely mobile enough to do anything. Just as Cancer Cell is about to leave, it gets hit by a blade. Backup has arrived, and basically everyone is around. This is giving Avengers Endgame final battle. The battle begins and the cells start getting eliminated. T Cell finally sets aside differences and gives NK Cell a helping hand. The battle goes on intensely as they can't afford to lose. The red blood cells can only spectate. Mid-fight, NK Cell gives T Cell an order to dodge right, and T Cell does, probably thinking it's some tactical comrade stuff. When he moves to the right, he gets caught in B Cell's attack. NK Cell's scheme worked out perfectly and she has a good laugh about it. WB Cell wonders what NK Cell's deal is until it clarifies. The laughing powered up NK Cell. NK Cells are vitalized by transmitters produced when the brain is stimulated through laughter. NK Cell slashes her way to Cancer Cell and gives the battle-ending hit. She asks WB Cell to finish it off, and WB Cell complies, dashing into action. But then he stops right before the hit. Cancer Cell just lies there defeated. He wonders what WB Cell's deal is and if he's going to condemn and nag him for the betrayal. But WB Cell mentions that he was just thinking about how Cancer Cell, is a cell as well. He says he'll hear Cancer Cell out if it has any final thing to say. Cancer Cell says it pisses him off as he feels WB Cell is pretending to be a nice guy. it takes the opportunity nonetheless. Cancer Cell says when he was disguised as an ordinary cell, WB Cell saved its life, which is a first. Cancer Cell says it was happy about this, pointing out that no cell would want to save its life, it just wishes it were able to live like an ordinary cell. WB Cell mentions that the immune cells can't help him as his existence is a threat to the system. Cancer Cell understands this. It just feels like after this incident it'll be forgotten. All the anger, grudge, and whatnot will all fade away. Cancer Cell blames Cell Division for how things turned out. It could have been allies with the others and not getting chased down by them. But at the end of the day, WB Cell has to do his job. Cancer Cell understands and yield. The battle is now completely over, and RB Cell joins up with WB Cell. RB Cell can now have a close-up look at Cancer Cell and says that it's scary. But WB Cell assures her that there's nothing to be scared of as he has finished it off. At least for now. WB Cell appreciates and thanks RB Cell for summoning other immune cells. He's pretty confident that if Cancer Cell returns, they'll stop it again. RB Cell is on her way to deliver a package when she comes across rookie red blood cells getting some orientation. This means they'll be resuming, and this is like a wake-up call to RB Cell. She wants to commit, stop feeling like a fool, and become less reliant on others. Her goal is to take carbon dioxide to the heart, get oxygen from it, and deliver the oxygen to the cells throughout the body. She's energized, determined to stay focused on this mission and possibly not get lost. She's neck deep in the map trying to figure out the way to the heart. Just then, a bacterium springs out and attacks her. RB Cell panics and feels this is her end. But just before anything happens, WB Cell cuts in, tanking the attack. With a single slash, as often he eliminates it. WB Cell finds out if she's fine and then asks what she's doing in such a place. It turns out she's lost. RB Cell notices the injury WB got from tanking the enemy's attack and feels bad that he got injured because of her. She's more determined now as she can't keep letting this happen. WB Cell offers to help her out, but he notices she's passionate about finding her way on her own. Her eyes are peeled on the map and she's literally burning with determination. Seeing this, which is a good thing, WB Cell knows to let her be. Just as they part ways, RB Cell finds herself in another dangerous situation, a construction site. After being rescued, she expresses her gratitude to WB Cell profusely and apologizes for any inconvenience caused. Before he has the chance to respond or say anything, she quickly leaves, only to end up in another accident. And it keeps happening and WB Cell is concerned. RB Cell's journey continues with her still determined to find her way independently. She comes across a couple of red blood cells who are getting glucose, the only thing they survive on, unlike the white blood cells, who have mitochondria. Behind the shadows, WB Cell watches RB Cell's journey out of concern. She gets to the venous valve, which keeps blood going in a single direction, meaning they can't back up. But after getting through, RB Cell still circles back through it again due to her bad direction skills. The valve doesn't open and she gets yelled at by the cell at the post. This is painful to watch, even for WB Cell. This is pretty embarrassing and the background is filled with giggles of bystander cells. She gets to the inferior vena cava, which is the largest vein in the human body, and WB Cell follows quietly behind. Older red blood cell sees her and immediately notices how energized and determined RB Cell is, such that she doesn't even hear when older red blood cell says hello. An announcement is made, alerting the red blood cells that they're about to enter the heart. They're advised to keep their carts in the designated spot and take their packages on their own as the area is congested. The red blood cells are to start in the heart, move to the lungs, drop off carbon dioxide, and pick up oxygen, completing the first task. Next, they're to go from the lungs back to the heart, then out through the aorta into tiny capillaries. There, they'll deliver oxygen and pick up waste like carbon dioxide, finishing the second task. Body circulation would be complete once they've returned to the right atrium, the starting point. They're advised to coordinate themselves and act responsibly. This is it, the final hurdle. As much as the place mystifies RB Cell, she locks in because she can't impose on others anymore. WB Cell watches from a distance, rooting for her. She parks her cart and takes up the package in her hands like some macho girl and begins her journey. At the heart, there's a lot of commotion as cells are congested. It's like a Friday evening rush hour. RB Cell is squished in the crowd and drops her notepad, but luckily WB Cell is there to catch it. He is able to throw it back without being noticed by her. On another instance, her hat falls off and WB Cell does the same, picking it up. With WB helping out from the shadows, everything is going fine for RB Cell so far, and she takes a break, waiting for her oxygen gas to get loaded up. After this is done, she packs it up. She briefly recalls it is the place where WB Cell first rescued her. A pretty lovely memory. RB cell resumes her journey, still keeping the good streak. A bacterium springs out to attack the red blood cells, but WB cell is there to take it down. RB cell notices the commotion but decides to ignore it. Unaware of what is happening, RB cell is having a chill, complication-free journey, while WB cell follows her all the way through. Some bacteria sneak into the area and take positions ready to attack RB cell, who they've just sighted. But before this happens, WB cell pulls up on them, shushes them, and quietly eliminates them. RB doesn't notice this. She continues her jolly journey. After some hectic moments, RB cell finally completes her journey. She rejoices at her victory, while WB cell watches, probably feeling the same. His work is done and he's about to leave when T-Cell meets him. Together, they watch RB Cell happily tell her colleagues about her journey. T-Cell figures RB Cell was able to finally complete a task and refers to her as being hopelessly clumsy. WB Cell protests against that. He mentions that they all have aspects they're bad at. RB Cell just happens to be bad and directions. He adds that, regardless of her flaws, she still tries her best without giving up. WB Cell admits that he hadn't put much thought into how difficult the task of red blood cells is until that moment. Having to carry heavy luggage around the body must be really hectic, but RB Cell strives to complete her daily tasks and still puts in so much effort to develop herself. WB Cell states that although red blood cells are afraid of them, he hopes immune cells can get along someday. Before he can ask T-Cell if he feels the same, T-Cell, who has kept his outburst pent up throughout the conversation, finally lets it all out, punching WB Cell in the face. Like, bro, what are you getting all sentimental for? Heisha's out, pointing out that they're assassins and are supposed to be stone cold, hard-boiled, and not getting chummy with everyone. As immune cells, they're to stand on business, mercilessly eliminating their enemies. He seems butthurt and walks away after he has made his really specific point. Makes you wonder, who hurt the dude? WB Cell just sits there speechlessly. RB Cell finally comes across WB Cell and happily mentions that she completed her task. She freaks out when she sees the bump from T-Cell's punch and asks what it is, but WB waves it off. He asks her how her journey went and she's happy to share. They sit together with RB Cell filling WB Cell in on everything, possibly over-explaining. T-Cell walks angrily past a bunch of people being friendly with each other. He's clearly envious. T-Cell drills the naive cells. He has them on serious workouts and strict training, like he's planning to make them into super soldiers without using the serum. Even as they're worn out, T-Cell doesn't allow any room for weakness. T-Cell's drill chant is loud enough from outside to cause disturbance even with windows shut. Helper T-Cell complains about this, saying that it's ruining tea time, and he gets the back of Regulatory Cell, who corrects that she's working and not having tea time. Regulatory cells prevent the T-cells from going out of control. Just as Helper T-Cell sips his tea and talks, a naive cell comes crashing through the window and onto him. T-Cell and the other naive cells run in following the accident, and T-Cell gives a nonchalant type apology upon arrival. When Helper T-Cell recovers from the accident, he gives T-Cell an earful about him being excessive and asks if it'll hurt him to be a bit cool. T-Cell mentions that he must train the naive cells rigorously to become effective combatants, as Helper T-Cell would not be pleased if weak T-cells were following his commands. Helper T-Cell says he should change his methods, but T-Cell feels his method is just fine. They continue to exchange words, leaving the naive cells confused about what is happening, as both are expected to have a boss-subordinate relationship. Dendritic Cell wastes no time in pulling out a book and is ready to spew the history between those two to the naive cells who are curiously paying attention. He hands them a picture from the book, where Helper T-Cell and T-Cell at a young age. Helper T-Cell is giving T-Cell, who is scrawny unlike now, a really good beatdown, and this is almost unbelievable to the naive cells. Years ago, they both trained at the thymus, where T-cells are formed from the categorization of precursor cells. They train rigorously with other cells under the guidance of thymic epithelial cell, who nurtures these cells and help differentiate the useful from the useless. The thymic epithelial cell gives a test. To see if they can react to an external antigen, there would be human-type panels appearing out of the blue, and they're to think fast, judge the ones which are antigens, and attack. Those who do not detect and attack a single antigen before reaching their goal, as well as those who mistakenly attack a common cell, would be disqualified. They start the test, and the cells start running, searching for antigen panels. T-Cell is exhausted from all the running, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel as he finally sees an antigen panel. He's relieved and makes a move towards it, but before he can get it successfully, Helper T-Cell leaps over him using his head as leverage and then attacks and shatters the panel. Helper T-Cell gets awarded the accolade, and everyone is amazed by how he split the panel with his attack. If any bacteria were watching from the shadows, they would have probably pissed on themselves. T-Cell gets up and whines about the fact that he was already going for the panel, asking why Helper T-Cell stomped on his head. Helper T-Cell mentions that he was using T-Cell as a springboard, as it was the shortest route to the panel. Although he says he's sorry, he seems rather unapologetic. He points out that T-Cell needs to have better reaction time to be able to become a great and effective T-Cell. Cell is annoyed and reaches for Helper T-Cell but gets his hand smacked away and his forehead flicked. He leaves, stating that he doesn't want to expend energy unnecessarily on T-Cell. T-Cell whimpers in pain, leaving the others wondering if the flick was really such a big deal. By the end of the day, they realize they are roommates, a situation neither of them wanted, but they have no choice. Helper T-Cell wants the lower bunk and gives T-Cell the top one. His only condition is that T-Cell doesn't move much so he can get a good night's rest. He suggests that T-Cell might as well sleep on the floor, which triggers T-Cell. They get into a fight, but are quickly interrupted by Regulatory Cell. The training sessions continue as serious and strict as usual, and the team manages to get through without being flunked out. T-Cell is having a particularly tough time, and the others, noticing his struggle, conclude that he isn't cut out to be a T-Cell. He still holds a grudge against Helper T-Cell, claiming he's putting in maximum effort while Helper T-Cell does nothing but sip tea. That night, Helper T-Cell heads out for his usual late-night training. As he is about to wrap up his session, he notices T-Cell training nearby. T-Cell is putting in effort and even naming and calling out his attacks, but unfortunately he is not performing well, which is quite disturbing for Helper T-Cell as he watches unnoticed. Helper T-Cell thinks to himself that T-Cell should be expelled after the day's drill. However, after observing for a while, he decides it's not his concern and shifts his focus back to his own workout. Dendritic Cell joins Regulatory Cell, who is watching them from a balcony. He takes a couple of photos of them, asking if Regulatory Cell is interested in them too. She doesn't really engage in the conversation and is fixated on just watching. Dendritic Cell expresses that he hopes they both make it through without being expelled. Some time has passed and they're much more developed. It's a regular training day as always until Thymic Epithelial Cell announces an impromptu test. It's the regular rule: detect and take down the antigen panels before the time runs out. Anyone who fails the test will get expelled, as expected. It's really tricky this time around as the panels are really misleading. Some have the silhouette of the antigen panels, which easily deceive some precursor cells. As stated, they get expelled. Regulatory Cell has her turn, and she's able to detect and assault an antigen panel. Helper T-Cell pulls through as well, and T-Cell is next. He panics but tries to keep it together. As Helper T-Cell passes by, he shares friendly advice. He points out that T-Cell is fond of closing his eyes as he throws a punch, which is why he can't land a hit, and suggests he do otherwise. T-Cell is surprised to hear this from Helper T-Cell, and just then he gets called upon. His test starts and he advances nervously. A panel pops up, and he's about to hit it when he remembers Helper T-Cell's advice. He quickly stops and opens his eyes. The panel is in ordinary cells and T-Cell is relieved he didn't connect the punch. He makes everyone nervous, Helper T-Cell included. T-Cell's time is almost up, and luckily, an antigen panel pops up behind him. Despite the crowd of cells yelling hints at him, he doesn't locate it. He panics because he doesn't know what else to do. Just then, Helper T-Cell calls out the names of his secret attacks. T-Cell is so surprised that Helper T-Cell knows those names that he doesn't even realize when he takes down the antigen panel. Everyone cheers for him while he stands there feeling confused. The test is over, and Helper T-Cell tells T-Cell that he should be happy as he passed. But T-Cell feels he only got lucky. He has no confidence in being able to carry on as a T-Cell. He mentions how lucky Helper T-Cell is, as he was given the option of being either a Helper T-Cell, Regulatory Cell, or a T-Cell. Helper T-Cell says T-Cell should drop out then if he has no confidence, which triggers T-Cell. He mentions that wallowing in self-pity is useless and that the working world isn't an easy place. T-Cell is enraged and claims Helper T-Cell knows nothing about what he feels. His anger gets to the point where he tries to hit Helper T-Cell, but Helper T-Cell lands a punch before he does, knocking him down. This is a motivational speech. The Helper T-Cell encourages the T-Cell to face reality, emphasizing that he must continue to give his best effort. He highlights T-Cell's redeeming quality, his determination to keep trying, even when he feels like his efforts are in vain. Helper T-Cell reaches out a hand to help T-Cell up. Initially surprised, T-Cell resolves to stop complaining and to train hard so that he can defeat an enemy with a single punch. Helper T-Cell can see what he needs to do now. He realizes that cells like T-Cell need someone to issue them orders, and T-Cell advises that if he's going to become a Helper T-Cell, he should loosen up a bit. Helper T-Cell says he's aware of that and he'll work on it. The two are on a friendly basis now while Regulatory Cell watches from a distance as usual. The backstory is concluded and the naive cells are odd. Helper T-Cell and T-Cell seem like very completely different personalities compared to back then. Just then, their attention shifts to Dendritic Cell and the naive cells as they wonder what they've been looking at. They approach the group to take a peek and are stunned by what they see. They get all riled up trying to get the book from Dendritic Cell, requesting that he destroys the photo. Regulatory Cell overhears them, and to her, they haven't changed a bit. It's another day inside the body. Cells are working energetically as usual in the different organs all day. Every day, our red blood cell friend is delivering oxygen to an almost physically impossible place, a cramped pathway. Oh, by the way, red blood cells are red because they have a lot of hemoglobin, a substance that carries oxygen and carbon dioxide around the body through blood circulation. As she is leaving, she spots the placelet leader and spends some time playing with the adorable little creature before continuing her journey to the pulmonary sac for gas exchange. She delivers the carbon dioxide she had collected from the pathway, and the pulmonary sac expels it, then provides her with oxygen in return. Big Sis red blood cell notices her at work and feels proud to see that she has finally mastered her way around. However, she can't help but still worry about her safety. AA red blood cell urges her to stay away from danger and just make a run for it, but our girl is confident that she will be just fine. She says she has never heard of a red blood cell that only seems to run into trouble. Guess who runs into trouble next? That's right, RB cell. She is getting chased by a bacterium. Other red blood cells in the way also run for their lives. She accidentally dodges an attack and feels proud of herself, thinking she has a chance of getting away. But unfortunately, she runs into a dead end. Oops, it's over for her. Or not. Some dude swoops in, knocking the bacteria down. We don't know who this dude is, but bro is wreaking havoc. He defeats the bacteria in less than a minute and sprays it down. RB Cell thanks him, but bro just gives her a thumb and runs off. Just then, WB Cell bursts out of the drainage ready to fight but finds the bacteria already exterminated. RB Cell shows him who did it and asks who that is. WB Cell tells her it's monocyte. Monocytes are another type of immune cell for defense. They are very few and comprise only 7% of white blood cells. They are awesome at consuming and breaking down foreign substances or bacteria, a process called phagocytosis. They can also move freely through the system, having no business here anymore. WB Cell excuses himself. RB Cell's next stop is the nasal cavity. The nasal cavity is an organ at the entrance of the respiratory system. It warms and moistens the air you breathe in to protect the delicate air sacs in the lungs. It even has a warm bath. RB Cell is surprised to find a monocyte chilling there. Bro is even nodding off. Then he gets out for a drink. Pretty normal guy. Platelets are also there having a snack which we learn is chock full of glucose. RB Cell happily takes one. Good for her. Because unlike white blood cells and other common cells, red blood cells have no mitochondria, so glucose is their only energy source. Now she has a refill of energy to run for her life later because we know she'll get in trouble again. As if on cue, there is another invasion right where RB Cell is. She is thrown across the vessel and slams into a wall. Staphylococcus aureus is back. And with proper backup, another scrape?
Stop it. Get some help.
This witch lives in the skin and pores. She's highly toxic, and as she invades the body through a scrape, she can cause skin infections, food poisoning, pneumonia, and a bunch of other scary stuff. Staff is not here to play. They immediately swing into action to conquer the nasal cavity. This time, WB Cell shows up on time with his guys. He asks RB Cell to run to safety and immediately gets to work slashing dem witches one by one. Platelets arrive on site to seal up the injury. WB Cell reminds Staff of how it ended last time, saying it will be no different. But Staff is unfazed. They came prepared. She and her girls assemble together. This move is exactly how they got the name Staphylococcus, grape-like. Megazord mode is activated, forming one huge monster. The white blood cells are shocked. With a single move, she beats tons of them. Another white blood cell tries to attack, but Staff reflects the attack using a fibrin. Fibrin is what platelets use in clotting blood to close up a wound. It has a mesh-like or rice cake-like quality. Staphylococci have this skill where they use fibrin to create an invisible cloak called coagulase. This enzyme acts as a shield to evade white blood cell attacks. At this point, Staff has the upper hand. RB Cell screams at WB Cell to get up. The platelets even have to warn her about falling off. Staff claims that she is here to avenge her younger cousin who invaded the body before and got deleted. She is about to cause more destruction when the real deal shows up. A team of monocytes. They are outside the blood vessel now, so the leader orders everyone to change costumes. RB Cell recognizes the voice. Surprise! It's Macrophage. Monocytes live in the bloodstream, but when they circulate outside the blood vessels, they become macrophages. Hence, the costume change. Staff thinks she's it and tries to attack Macrophage, but the Macrophages effortlessly smacks her repeatedly. Staff realizes she's cooked. Macrophages are white blood cells that capture and eliminate bacteria and other invaders. They also grab info about these threats for the immune system and clean up dead cells and debris. Fear paralyzes the Megazord and they individually start running away. Macrophage mocks Staff's falling out with her team and she tries to attack, but immediately gets humbled. Her friends are not left out of the smacking. The other cells are awestruck, while the neutrophil white blood cells are ashamed. They manage to show their appreciation, and Macrophage appreciates them in return for holding out. RB Cell still can't wrap her head around the fact that monocytes and macrophages are one and the same, and how they do all that. Macrophage says it's a secret. It is another busy day in the human body, and today it is dry. The sweat gland cells are running around, checking different water reservoirs, but they are all empty, except for one, which is almost running out. The cells are panicking because they have to save their world from further global warming. The sweat glands are desert dry, and the red blood cells are feeling the heat as they pass through the skin. AA red blood cell explains that there used to be waterways and stuff, but they have all dried up because of the heat. That is why the red blood cells are moving through the capillaries to release heat from the skin. This process is called thermolysis, a method of regulating body temperature. She tries to comfort AE red blood cells, saying it will get cooler once hydrosis starts. Hydrosis is a fancy word for sweating. Suddenly, a white blood cell shows up, chasing one of the bacteria that entered the body. He exterminates and informs his comrades that all the bacteria are eliminated. RB Cell comes over to say well done and sees him dissolving the bacterium. It is part of his job though. He finishes and says hi to her. The heat is affecting him too, but he has to maintain his composure and do his job. The primary function of the sweat glands is to release sweat, which helps cool the body by allowing heat to escape through evaporation. They basically fine-tune the body's thermostat. It is so hot that even the platelets are suffering. Sweating finally begins, but something is not right. When it is hot, the sweat released should break into micro droplets and evaporate immediately to cool the skin. However, the sweat being released remains in liquid form. The blood cells are losing patience. At the sweat control center, there is panic because the sweating failed to cool the body. This means the temperature outside the body is too high, causing the body's temperature to spike. The heat is now unbearable. White blood cell is helping some platelets get hydrated. Such a nice guy. More red blood cells are flowing in. They have to keep walking to release the heat. This is an increased vascular flow. It is another attempt to regulate body temperature. Suddenly, the lights start flickering. That signal indicates vertigo, when you feel dizzy or like the world around you is spinning. This happens when the balance system is thrown off. The cells are panicking, but it does not end there. Dizziness follows, which occurs when blood drains from the head, causing everything to look dark or white. You also experience vertigo, but you do remain conscious. Next, the body faints. Fainting happens when blood flow to the brain drops or is briefly interrupted, causing you to pass out for a few seconds or minutes. The white blood cell is alarmed. It's a heat stroke. Heat stroke occurs when the body cannot properly regulate its temperature, often due to excessive heat, dehydration, or salt imbalance. As the cells try to recover, a bacterium gets in, Bacillus cereus. This guy is a type of soil bacterium found mostly in dirt or water. When it enters the body, it is known to trigger two types of food poisoning, which can involve diarrhea or vomiting. The cells panic, but fortunately, white blood cell is there. Bacillus wants to take over the body and charges at the white blood cell, but instead of fighting, he jumps over him. Hep was just kidding. His true intention is to hide until the body system stops functioning. White blood cell chases after him but cannot do much due to the congestion in the pathway. Bacillus follows the speeding up flow to find a place to hide. White blood cell tries to attack, but Bacillus dodges it. He calls for backup, but Bro is too skilled at evading attacks and hiding. He escapes into another vessel where the white blood cells cannot follow due to the congestion. The heat situation is not getting any better either. White blood cell manages to reach Bacillus but is exhausted. A frustrated red blood cell bumps into him with her cart, causing him to fall. As he tries to get up, Bacillus sweeps his feet, knocking him down again. Bacillus mocks white blood cell for having heat stroke, yet commends him for still keeping his hat on. A hat is a preventative measure against heat stroke. It blocks direct sunlight and prevents overheating of the head. Take note, Bacillus continues to bully the cells, snatching the last of their hydration tea and pouring it away. Another point to note, rehydration is another preventive measure against heat stroke. The body system is suffering and everyone is complaining. The captain of the sweat gland cells orders all the sodium to be gathered so they can pump water using osmotic pressure. However, most of the sodium has already been discharged through sweating. The captain feels dejected. There seems to be nothing else they can do. If nothing happens, the body system will become dehydrated. Dehydration happens when the body loses too much fluid, making it harder to absorb nutrients, remove waste, regulate temperature, and keep blood flowing properly. The captain quietly leaves the room only to return dressed traditionally. Bro's last resort is praying to the gods for rain. Other sweat gland cells are concerned that he has lost his mind. Meanwhile, white blood cell continues to be harassed by a common bacterium. Bacillus holds him up to watch as his world is getting destroyed, the body deteriorating. The body is experiencing a fever, however Bacillus is unfazed by this. This bacterium can withstand heat of 100 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. He mocks WB Cell for not being able to save everyone, then throws him down. Bacillus considers going to the brain to flaunt his powers but realizes that white blood cell did not actually fall off. He's a fighter. Bacillus uses his tentacles to strike WB Cell repeatedly, but he refuses to give up. Bacillus tells him to accept the reality that the body is lost. They have tried various methods such as sweating and increasing blood flow, but the body's thermal regulation system has been defeated. Bacillus is confident that the body will soon be history. He insists that the WB Cell should come to terms with it and find a cool place where he can loosen his clothes and rest. However, white blood cell replies that he won't give up as long as the body is alive. Bacillus calls him a fool and continues to flog him until WB Cell finally falls off. Satisfied, Bacillus plans to hide in the darkness and divide repeatedly. While the cells panic over the rising body temperature, he intends to seize control of the body and transform it into his territory. He laughs maniacally for an unusually long time until a light interrupts him. All the cells watch with curiosity as the skin temperature begins to decrease. A tube enters the skin. It's a needle for transfusion. During transfusion, a fluid solution is injected into the vein to replenish fluids, correct electrolyte imbalances, or restore nutrients. Water begins to flow from the tube, bringing joy to the cells. The sweat gland cells, who thought their captain was mad, now thank him for his prayers. The cells play, bathe, and even drink the same water. Let's not judge them. They've been through a lot. Bacillus is frustrated, unable to believe the body is recovering. Something is approaching him and we all know who it is, white blood cell. He is refreshed now, and it's over for Bacillus. WB Cell exterminates him so vengefully that his handiwork can be recognized from miles away. Thanks to the rain, everything is returning to normal, and the body is recovering. A white blood cell discovers a cool spot and calls over RB Cell and her friends. The areas around the thick blood vessels like the neck and underarms are particularly cool, and the red blood cells there are enjoying themselves. When trying to cool your body, it's important to move to a cooler spot and apply cold to areas with large blood vessels such as your neck, armpits, and thighs. White blood cell is relieved but still in recovery. Red blood cell advises him to wear cooler clothes while he's working. He agrees, but I bet the thought of how cool he looks will stop him. One of his comrades mocks him for having a heat stroke, but he doesn't even respond. After a while, all the blood cells cool off and feel better. It is another busy day in the human body. RB Cell is doing her job as usual, exchanging carbon dioxide for oxygen. She is supposed to deliver the oxygen to the liver next. AA red blood cell sees her and feels proud. She stops RB Cell and commends her for getting better at her job, though she still makes some blunders. AE red blood cell blushes, saying it's all thanks to AA's warm guidance. AA red blood cell teases her and then asks AE to do something for her. She introduces AE to a rookie red blood cell and asks AE to train her. AE red blood cell is flabbergasted. AA tries to leave, but AE doesn't let her. She wants to refuse because she does not even feel like a full-fledged red blood cell herself. However, AA reminds her that part of her job is to train others, as she was also trained by other red blood cells when she was a rookie. She insists that it was the same for her, so AE should do it as a way to give back. AE has no choice but to agree. Now, AE is left as a senpai to a rookie. The rookie is calm and collected, which makes RB Cell nervous. She fears that the girl might think of her as a flaky senpai. Determined to take charge, she decides to introduce the rookie to various aspects of their job. She starts by wanting to explain what their job entails, but Rookie is well grounded and goes on to give a full explanation like that show-off, a student. I don't think AE Red Blood Cell even knows this much. Next, AE decides to focus on the practical aspects of their work, so they set out to circulate in the body for real. During their ride, RB Cell tries to find something to talk about and considers introducing herself. Meanwhile, Rookie feels awkward and thinks AE should have saved the job descriptions for when they were on the move. She believes AE is being a little inefficient. AE Red Blood Cell makes the mistake of entering a lymphatic vessel again, and the attendant yells at her yet again. AE apologizes to Rookie for the wrong turn, calling herself an airhead. Rookie responds that it's okay, but she thinks the guy was unnecessarily aggressive, which bothers her. They come across White Blood Cell at work. AE Red Blood Cell is happy to see him, while Rookie is surprised that AE knows people from the immune system. AE tells her that they are all nice, but Rookie disagrees, viewing the neutrophil white blood cells as a gang of anomalies who confuse justice with violence. AE defends the white blood cells, stating that they are nice if you talk to them, but her words don't seem to match what they are witnessing. White blood cell defeats the antigen but is still panting heavily when AE Red Blood Cell thanks him for his hard work. Startled, he plays it off and says hi. He then asks if Rookie is AE's trainee. AE proudly claims she has been showing Rookie the ropes, quietly adding that she has not taught her anything yet. White Blood Cell attempts to greet Rookie, but since the foreign body is still breathing, he gets back to work. AE Red Blood Cell starts explaining to Rookie that there are many different types of white blood cells that work in the blood vessels. She asks the white blood cell to tell Rookie more about them, and he begins multitasking, fighting while explaining. AE feels the need to reinforce that White Blood Cell is genuinely a nice guy. Just then, he delivers the finishing blow. Rookie pushes AE Red Blood Cell out of the way to avoid getting splashed by blood, but they both end up stained. AE Red Blood Cell apologizes for soiling Rookie's brand new uniform, and White Blood Cell does the same. Rookie reassures them that it's okay. Soon after, AE Red Blood Cell shows up with something warm to drink for Rookie, thinking it will help since she is all wet. Rookie questions whether a towel would not be a better choice, making AE Red Blood Cell feel foolish. They get back to work. AE begins explaining the entire process of delivering oxygen while the cell they are delivering to waits, losing his patience. She even instructs the Rookie on how to make eye contact while delivering the oxygen and precisely what to say in a clear voice. Rookie insists that she does not need these instructions, but AE is not listening and continues talking until the cell loses his patience. AE moves on to introduce eosinophil. Eosinophil appears flustered as AE praises her profusely. For some reason, she can't stand receiving that much praise. Rookie has enough EQ to realize that her senpai is making the lady uncomfortable. This senpai doesn't care though. She continues to introduce the platelets, not even noticing that the Rookie is not following her until she nearly gets tangled in fibrin. They also meet dendritic cell and macrophage, who are proud of how much AE has grown, enough to be considered a senpai. Oh, if only they knew. AE Red Blood Cell is still engaged in conversation while Rookie has to remind her about their delivery. AE gets back on track, but it's the wrong track. Rookie is now like the senpai, knowing the right things to do. The duo decides to take a break. They witness two cells arguing. The cells ask Memory for help in determining who is right, but unfortunately, he can't remember anything and is quite frustrated. This Memory sounds familiar, but I won't mention any names. When they return to work, AE Red Blood Cell continues to make mistakes, entering the wrong room, stepping on a White Blood Cell's passage, going the wrong way, tripping, and getting distracted. Rookie finally socializes with other Red Blood Cells who are actually teaching her something valuable. Her senpai is nowhere to be found. She is soaking in her shame. White Blood Cell swings by to keep an eye on his crush and is worried about how the whole senpai situation is going for her. AE Red Blood Cell manages to gather herself, and when Rookie returns, she apologizes for not being reliable. Rookie reassures her that it's alright and not to worry. White Blood Cell pretends to tie his shoelaces to keep watching her. Red Blood Cell promises to do better this time, and they check the map for their next destination, the lungs. However, she struggles with interpreting the map. Even though White Blood Cell knows the way, he stays where he is and watches her walk away confidently in the right direction this time. In the human body, new cells are born and begin their work. Every cell has a special role to play each day. Today is just like any other day until suddenly there's an explosion. When Red Blood Cell regains consciousness, she sees that a lot has been destroyed. Rookie also comes to and panics upon realizing what has happened. White Blood Cell arrives holding a devastated platelet. Red Blood Cell asks what happened, but he doesn't know either. The order comes for all blood cells to gather in the center of the body. They must hurry, or they will be swept away by the increasing blood pressure. Unfortunately, it's already too late. The cells are all confused, awaiting broadcast for further instructions. White blood cell receives an emergency call for all migrating white blood cells to gather immediately. In a meeting, the nerve cells discuss the chaos generated by numerous severe issues cropping up everywhere. One of them expresses concern about a potential invasion by antigens. The captain has no choice but to declare a state of emergency. The announcement of the state of emergency is made. The system has detected life-threatening damage. The tissue and blood vessels near the head area are severely damaged. The immune cells are instructed to prepare for an antigen invasion and hurry to the scene. Platelets are requested to gather at the damaged area to stop the bleeding immediately, while red blood cells must continue transporting oxygen to maintain homeostasis. Rookie feels nervous, but AE red blood cell encourages her. Moving around is challenging. The blood flow is faster than usual, the heartbeat is rapid, and the body temperature is high. The captain of the sweat gland cells orders an immediate release of cold sweat. On the way, Rookie tires out, feeling cold, but AE red blood cell refuses to slow down. They need to hurry. The first bacterium breaks in, but before it can survey the area, white blood cell exterminates it. Another antigen tries to escape from the vessels with its kids, but not on this guy's watch. He takes them out as well and keeps moving. As white blood cell approaches the wound site, he expects to see red blood cells under attack by antigens, but to his surprise, it is eerily quiet and no blood cells are in sight. White blood cell rushes through damaged areas checking for survivors. He looks for blood cells and can't find any. He finally sees one. When he asks what's going on, the cell explains that zillions of blood cells got swept up and sucked towards the mouth of the wound. He says the bleeding has not stopped, which means that there are no red blood cells to distribute oxygen throughout the body. And cells need that oxygen to live. He is sure the different systems in the body will do whatever they can, but there is nothing anyone can do to stop it. Eventually, the inside of the body will grow cold as functions shut down, and starting with the distal cells, they will all be gone from lack of oxygen. White blood cell is scared. Meanwhile, AE red blood cell and Rookie are diligently delivering oxygen to the lungs. They find a normal cell gasping for air, and AE starts questioning the poor guy about what happened. More dying cells come out in need of oxygen. The red blood cells drop the oxygen supply there and go back to fetch more, but Rookie notices something alarming. There are no other red blood cells around to carry oxygen. The lungs are pumping so violently. There is enough oxygen, but there aren't nearly enough red blood cells to deliver them. AE red blood cell tries to encourage the few available red blood cells to deliver the oxygen. She tries to keep things steady, reminding Rookie they have a job to do and people are counting on them. Rookie is impressed and joins her. Try to move oxygen around to different areas. Damage is bad, but they still don't give up though. At the site of the wound, where the hemorrhage is, platelets warn cells not to get swept away by the wound's force or wind from the injury as they are transporting the oxygen. AE and Rookie boldly join the other red blood cells in scaling the walls. In the nervous system, the nerve cells are panicking about the scarcity of red blood cells and the failure of oxygen transport. Since it has come to this, they have to provide backup. One of the executives orders the blood pressure to be used to produce more red blood cells for circulation. Number back to the site of injury. Platelets are working on fixing the area while red blood cells are transporting oxygen. Suddenly, the increase in blood pressure causes more blood cells to flow into the wound, worsening the hemorrhage. Their strategy backfired. More blood is lost and that makes things worse. AE red blood cell encourages Rookie to hang in there. Sopercos. Because of the decrease in the amount of circulating blood, body temperature drops. It is getting colder and more difficult for the red blood cells. It gets so cold that the cells feel like they're walking through a snowstorm, but AE still refuses to give up. She can't let all those cells without oxygen die. New Rookie collapses because the cold is overwhelming. AE red blood cell tries to help, tries to motivate her, but Rookie starts lashing out at her senpai. She believes it's hopeless, that the body is going to die from hemorrhagic shock. 2E hemorrhagic shock happens when the body loses a large amount of blood, either from an injury or internal bleeding. With less blood, the body can't keep things running properly, and a person may feel dizzy, faint, or even lose consciousness. If not treated quickly, it can be fatal. Shock usually begins after losing about 1/3 of the body's total blood. AE red blood cell refuses to give up. She insists that even if it is grim, she will keep doing what is needed, because that is their job. She continues alone despite Rookie's pleas. She tries desperately to hold up. Meanwhile, the white blood cells are fighting antigens that got into the body. Everyone is giving their all, so she has to as well. But then she also collapses. She feels useless, thinking maybe she could not do enough. AAE red blood cell wakes up to a surprise. Some new red blood cells are there. These red blood cells are unfamiliar. Their uniforms look different, more fully dressed. AE is confused. They ask what happened and she tells them about the huge wound and the oxygen situation. The red blood cells realize that the survival of the body depends on them. They are pissed that they were dropped in the center of such a disaster without any information. One of them gets on higher ground and informs everyone of the situation and what they all have to do. GU red blood cell is filled with hope again. Together, these new red blood cells and AE deliver oxygen to every corner of the body in a flash, even to the white blood cells who never stopped working and were holding their breath instead. The reinforcements make a difference. Thanks to the efforts of the red blood cells and of each of the other cells, they are able to avert the dangers of hemorrhagic shock as it begins to subside. Text to AE red blood cell and white blood cell see each other. They are happy they both survived. While getting some rest, AE wonders where those new red blood cells came from. They actually came from a blood transfusion after a blood donation. That is why they were so confused. XIAE red blood cell excuses herself to go find Rookie. However, Rookie finds her first. She says there is something she would like to say to AE. AE red blood cell and white blood cell are concerned, but then she thanks AE for the training. Today she learned that work isn't just about knowledge but also experience, and it is also important to have a passionate heart. AE is surprised. WB cell leaves them to their emotions, and soon enough AE red blood cell starts crying. They are tears of joy though. She was afraid there wasn't anything she could teach Rookie, but now she's relieved. She wants them to continue working together. Doc, with newly boosted red blood cell numbers, oxygen delivery throughout the body is restored. Temperature starts returning to normal, and so does everything else. Cells that were on the brink recover. DAAE is lost once again when white blood cell catches up to her. He teased her for being lost, but she denies it, claiming to be mature. Suddenly, there is a germ, and white blood cell has to roll. He wishes her good luck and off he goes. She wishes him good luck too and continues her duties.